wait a second and see how this is working. All right, so math application students, I know that you're going to watch this a little bit in the future, not today, but I want to explain a little bit about how I set up Unit 6 and 7. So in Unit 6, you start off with learning about how normal distribution calculations work, right? So we have, this is what the picture I'm looking for. We have this bell curve, right? These things where we have, it's not the best bell curve that's talking about, our, here we go. Let me go back for a second here. Anyways, you've been talking about this normal curve and asking to find, you know, here we go. Yeah, this is actually perfect. This is what I'm looking for. Kind of where you are and where you're going is what I'm trying to do here today. I'm going to use this picture. We've been using this normal curve, and you've been asked to find the probability less than or the probability bigger. And then we get to this idea of a sampling distribution, right? So now we're saying we're going to take a small sample, right, out of our population, and we're going to do it many, 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 many times. And we found that if you do this enough times, if you take enough samples, that the distribution becomes this bell curve. And what we're going to talk about, and we're going to spend the rest of the time talking about it, is first, what is this sampling distribution and how do you use it? And then we're going to talk about a confidence interval. We're going to say, we want to know the mean of a population, but we can't measure everything. So we're going to just take a sample. And then, because we're only taking one sample and we're not taking many samples, our mean, right, it's going to be part of this curve, but it might not be the exact mean of the population. And we want to know what's the range. This is what a confidence interval is. What's a range where that mean really pretty certain that our mean falls there? And that's going to be a confidence interval. And then we're going to spend, we're going to spend time not participating for me today. We're going to spend time talking about if we take, let's get rid of this here. If we take two samples, or not two samples, if we take two groups and we're trying to compare them, we're going to do a significance test, which means how likely are those two groups to be different from each other. Ignore the screen right now. I'm getting to a picture I want. So, whereas we've taken a sampling distribution and we're able to find if something is significant or not, that's kind of what you're doing first. Then we're going to start to take a test statistic and we're going to say, hey, is this really different enough from each other just by chance alone? All right, so what does this have to do with where we are here? Well, like I said, you're working through normal distribution calculations. And then Unit 6 has a little bit on sampling distributions. Like I said, this is if we were to take a sample from a population, a different sample, over and over again. We're going to end up with that same bell curve. And that's going to help us answer questions of how likely is our sample to be the actual mean. And this is where it switches. So it talks about sampling distributions just a little bit in Unit 6. And then in Unit 7, we start asking questions about probability of sampling distributions. And so that's why I just kind of put it in with 6 and 7 together, and I don't really have a test. And we're going to work to this super big idea in statistics, which is the central limit theorem. And this is really an interesting thing. So let's imagine a population that is a skewed distribution. And let's say we take a bunch of different samples from that. Well, the more samples we take, and also the size of our sample matters, our sampling distribution is going to come to look like a normal distribution. And then we can use the same tools that we learned when we were just talking about a normal distribution. You can use those same tools to answer questions about our sampling. So that's where you're headed. And you can see Unit 7, you're going to spend time talking about how to use the sampling distribution. Unit 8, Like I said, we're going to work on finding a confidence interval, which means that if you took only one sample from a population, how certain are you that that is going to be accurate of your population? And then you can see after Unit 8, I'm still working. So after Unit 8, after confidence intervals, we'll learn significance tests. And you're going to do Unit 9 and 10 are going to be on significance tests, and you're going to finish the course. So keep sending me your questions.